If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's a saying that's been around for a long time, and whilst OnePlus hasn't been around for nearly as long, I still feel like it reflects the OnePlus 7 perfectly. Hey guys, my name is Ryan Thomas with Android Authority, and this is the review of the OnePlus 7. It's no secret that the US isn't getting the standard variant of the OnePlus 7, and that's a real shame, but at the same time it's not as exciting or as flashy as the Pro model, so it's not that big of a loss. And speaking of less flashy, it does remind me a lot of the 6T in many areas. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much identical to the 6T in almost every way, apart from a few colour options like this shiny mirror grey and as a red variant, although actually that red variant is only available in China and India. It's a shame we haven't got Thunder Purple this time around. That was a really cool colour, but maybe we'll see some more being released during the year. New things in the 7's design include a taller camera bump, a shorter mute toggle switch, a larger earpiece grille, and a faster and larger fingerprint scanner. We still don't get the standard IP68 water and dust resistance or any kind of weather resistance, which is a bit of a shame, although there have been claims in past years about these phones having some kind of unofficial weatherproofing, so take that with a pinch of salt, but we might still have that here. As I said, a lot of the visual cues are still here from the 6T, including that water droplet notch and the selfie camera hidden inside it. The 6.41-inch optic AMOLED display is very similar, actually almost identical to that of the 6T, and that's not a bad thing at all. It gets nice and bright outdoors, easily as bright as the 7 Pro, and its colours are a little bit muted out of the box, but this is easily remedied by going into the settings and selecting other options. Sure, the 60Hz refresh rate won't knock your socks off, and the notch does leave the device feeling slightly outdated, but it's a great display either way. A terrific improvement that's been made in the 7 over the 6T is its audio setup. Now, yeah, we still don't have the headphone port, and that is a shame, but we do get that really large audio grill at the top, which is actually there because we have a hybrid stereo speaker setup. Now, no, they're not going to be as good as something like from the 2XL or the 3XL, but what you're going to get is a significantly clearer and better sound than the previous model. This also softens the blow because we don't have a headphone port, but neither do we have a dongle in the box. Let's talk about cameras. Probably the biggest letdown from the company a couple of years ago has become one of their strong points. The 48 megapixel rear camera on paper is pretty good since it uses the increasingly common Sony IMX563 sensor and an f1.7 optically stabilized lens. It's actually the same main sensor that's found in the 7 Pro, but instead of extra focal lengths we get a 5 megapixel depth sensor. But what does this all translate to? Well, some pretty great images in pretty much all conditions. Images have some characterful contrast, some solid dynamic range and somewhat bright colours, and more than adequate sharpness. Portrait mode is an improvement over last year's model, although edge detection still lacks that kind of convincing realism. Low light shots using both standard and nightscape look great. They're not the best in class, but even so, I really did like the low light images coming from this phone. Selfies aren't bad either. They certainly get beaten by many of the competitors due to the lack of overall sharpness. Portrait mode on selfie mode is good as well, but the edge detection is just not quite as good. We get a nice array of video shooting modes, including UHD 4K at 60 frames per second and high frame rate video at 480 frames per second too. The optical image stabilization keeps footage looking smooth, even if it's not quite as smooth as, say, a Pixel 3a. Go beyond speed is this phone's mantra, and you'll certainly be doing that with the OnePlus 7. The Snapdragon 855 equipped device comes with either 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, or 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Combine this pretty awesome spec sheet with Oxygen OS running the latest version of Android and you're laughing. Performance in anything from social media to split screen multitasking to playing any games, it's all just an absolute breeze for this device, and we'd expect that since past OnePlus devices have been so good in the performance department. A couple of things to note: this thing uses UFS 3.0 storage, which is really quick and is one of the reasons why this phone feels as fast as it does, but on the flip side it's not going to feel as fast as the Pro model since the display is locked at 60Hz. Oxygen OS has brought some noticeable changes this time around, including Zen mode, which kind of locks you out of your phone for a set period of time to keep your mind free of distractions. Another inclusion is gaming mode, which will minimize background tasks to free up resources of the phone for the game you're playing, just so that you can kind of maintain higher frame rates. Phonetic mode within this will block notifications and calls, and also if you've got a second SIM in that second SIM slot, it will disable that so that kind of more of the processing power is going towards that first SIM if you're on a 4G connection. If OnePlus's track record is anything to go by, then we're going to have updates for at least another 2 years, if not 3 years, although OnePlus has promised for 2 years. In my week that I had the device, I found the battery life to be pretty average. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. It has a 3700 mAh battery, and I'll say right off the bat that I wish it was 4000. We did see an increase when going from the OnePlus 6 to the OnePlus 6T, and I believe that we should have seen an improvement going from the 6T to the 7 as well. Even a small difference would have made a big difference overall. For some context, I find the battery life to be a little bit better than the 6T. Maybe that's down to software, maybe that's down to the new system on the chip. However, it's still not what I'd consider a definite all-day battery. It's going to get most of us through a full day absolutely fine, but some people will manage to get it down to 0% by the end of the day. Having dash charge return here is a little bit bittersweet because you're able to make the battery last a full day just by topping up for 10 minutes at lunchtime. That's brilliant. However, it's not warp charge, which is what we found with the 7 Pro. What we found is warp charge is noticeably faster than dash charge, and it would have been nice to see it on the 7 series instead of just the 7 Pro. For £499 or €549, it's a far cry from the company's past flagship killers, but since it's half of what the big guys are doing, I won't hate on the pricing too much. Alternatives in this price range include the Xiaomi Mi 9 with its extra cameras and extra focal lengths by extension, and the Zenfone 6 for its unique design and massive battery. Of course, Xiaomi's Redmi K20 Pro is also another big flagship killer that's kind of stealing the crown from OnePlus, and that's hopefully going to become the Pocophone F2. So if you're interested in something that's going to be cheaper and is going to have similar performance, then maybe wait around for that. Conclusion time, and that really does bring us back to the tagline of this video. The 7 is a much faster, cleaner and more refined version of the 6T, and that's by no means bad. At £499, it's definitely not a flagship killer anymore and is kind of up there with the flagships. I'd happily recommend the OnePlus 7 to someone looking for one of the fastest phones to be released this year, and one that's hopefully going to get software updates for a long time. Sure, it's not new and exciting, and it hasn't got that kind of wow factor that the OnePlus 7 Pro has, but like the tagline suggests, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The 6T was a fantastic device, and the 7 is just an extension of that. Is it worth buying over the Zenfone 6 or the Xiaomi Mi 9? That's a question we'd like to ask you. And also, since we have the devices here, would you like to see a three-way comparison between them? Leave your comments in the comment section. And with that, it's time for me to go. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. And also please do check out the full written version. Link will be in the video description as always. My name's been Ryan Thomas with Android Authority, and I'll see you later. Peace.